Here is a question for you. What happens when a show gets every single technical thing right? The acting is great, the direction is solid, the music slaps, and yet something still feels off. Not broken, not bad, just slightly hollow. That is the exact feeling I walked away with after finishing all 6 episodes of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder Season 2. And today, we are going to get into why. This is not a hate video, this is not a hype video either. This is an honest breakdown of what the show got right, what it got wrong, where it surprised people, and where it dropped the ball. We will also be talking about the thing nobody seems to be saying out loud, that this season is actually dividing critics and viewers in a way that is really interesting. Season 2 dropped on Netflix on May 27, 2026. All 6 episodes released at once, and the conversation around it started almost immediately. So buckle up because we are going deep. If you have never watched A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, here is the 30-second version. Season 1 followed Pip Fitzsamobi, a teenager in a small English town who decides to investigate a 5-year-old murder case for her school project. A girl named Andy Bell was supposedly killed by her boyfriend Sal Singh, who then died by suicide. Except Pip does not believe that, and she turns out to be right. The first season was sharp, bingeable, and genuinely tense. It premiered in summer 2024, originally on BBC Three before hitting Netflix, and it became a massive hit. The book it was based on, also called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, already had a dedicated fanbase, especially on Book Talk, so the show had a built-in audience before it even aired. Season 2 adapts the second book in the trilogy Good Girl, Bad Blood, and while the first season had this propulsive, escalating energy that built to a satisfying conclusion, Season 2 is a different animal entirely. So what is the story this time? The season picks up with Pip now 18 years old. She has moved on from her murder-solving days and started a true crime podcast about the Andy Bell case. She is ready to close that chapter of her life. But then Jamie Reynolds goes missing. Jamie is the older brother of Connor, who is one of Pip's closest friends. And the timing of his disappearance is suspicious because Jamie was set to testify in the trial of Max Hastings, a wealthy, well-connected guy who is on trial for drugging and sexually assaulting multiple women, including a character called Becca Bell. So Pip gets pulled back in. She starts investigating Jamie's disappearance while simultaneously watching the legal case against Max Hastings slowly crumble from the inside. Now here is where it gets interesting. Those are 2 separate storylines happening in parallel. And depending on which critic you ask, that is either the season's greatest strength or its most significant weakness. Let me lay out both sides of this debate because it is genuinely not clear-cut. Some critics argue that the show's decision to split screen time equally between finding Jamie and following Max's trial dilutes both storylines. The Jamie mystery, which is technically the main plot, never quite builds the tension or stakes that the murder mystery in Season 1 had. There's always a nagging question sitting in the back of your mind: why does this matter as much? Jamie is not dead. He is missing. The clock is ticking, but the genre energy is different. Missing persons and murder investigations hit differently, and the show sometimes struggles to manufacture the same urgency. Then the other side of this, and this is where things get genuinely compelling, is that the Max Hastings trial storyline is actually some of the best television in the entire series so far. It is unflinching and real in its depiction of how difficult it is to bring a privileged, connected abuser to justice. Every scene in that courtroom feels uncomfortably familiar. The way power operates, the way the defense chips away at victims, the way social dynamics protect people who should not be protected. That storyline resonates deeply, and the show deserves credit for not softening it. So the problem is not that either storyline is bad. The problem is that one is so much stronger than the other. And when you cut from a gripping courtroom scene back to the Jamie investigation, the contrast is jarring. Here is something worth digging into. Holly Jackson, the author of the original books, is also a co-creator of the Netflix series. She wrote 4 of the 6 episodes in Season 2, and in adapting her own work, she made some deliberate choices that tell us a lot about what she thinks of the source material. For starters, the Max Hastings trial is significantly expanded in the show compared to the novel. In the book, Finding Jamie is the central engine of the story. The trial is present, but it is not as dominant. In the show, those 2 storylines sit much more equally side by side. And here is what that tells us. The author herself recognized that the Jamie missing persons storyline on its own might not be substantial enough to carry a full television season. So she expanded the one element that she knew could carry weight. That is an honest creative decision, and it mostly works. What is also interesting is that an important early scene between Pip and Jamie, a scene designed to establish their connection and give the audience a reason to care about him, was not actually in the book at all. The scenario for their conversation was pulled from a completely different book in the series. The show built an emotional bridge for viewers that the source material never provided. That is smart adaptation work, but it also highlights the limitation of the source material. Okay, now we get to the part where critics and viewers line up on the same page. Emma Myers, if you know her from Wednesday, where she plays Enid Sinclair, the bubbly, optimistic werewolf who is basically Wednesday Addams' best friend, you have seen maybe 20% of what this actress can actually do. Pip Fitz-Amobi is a fundamentally different character. Where Enid is warm and externally expressive, Pip is driven, internal, and increasingly complicated. Season 2 takes Pip to darker places. She is 18 now, technically an adult, stepping into a world that keeps showing her how much the rules protect the wrong people. And she starts bending, not breaking, but bending. Myers plays this with a level of restraint and precision that is genuinely impressive for someone her age. There is a particular quality to how she handles Pip's growing moral ambiguity. You never lose your sympathy for the character even when Pip makes choices that are clearly wrong. That is not easy to pull off. It requires the audience to understand the why even while they are uncomfortable with the what. Interestingly, Myers has said in interviews that she actually identifies more with Pip than she does with Enid. Pip's personality, the curiosity, the drive, the slightly obsessive need to find answers, that feels closer to who Myers actually is. And you can see it in the performance. There is a groundedness to Pip that feels like it is coming from a real place. The other standout performance is Henry Ashton as Max Hastings. Max could have been a cartoon villain. He is wealthy, privileged, and terrible. The easiest version of this character is a smirking, one-dimensional bad guy. Ashton does not do that. He finds a way to make Max human, not sympathetic, not excused, but human. There is a scene late in the season where Max confronts his mother, Rosie, and you see him not as a predator who has never been afraid, but as a young person terrified of losing the one relationship he has that still matters to him. It is a cold, quiet, devastating moment. Rosie, played by Annabelle Mullion, is also worth mentioning. The expansion of her character in the show compared to the book is one of the more surprising pleasures of the season. Let us talk about the supporting characters because this is where Season 2 genuinely drops the ball. Connor Reynolds is Jamie's younger brother. He has more reason to be emotionally wrecked in this season than almost anyone else in the story. His brother is missing. His family is falling apart. This should be a character arc. Instead, Connor is largely used as comic relief. His jokes land awkwardly in Season 1, but in Season 2, they feel genuinely misplaced. When your character's primary function is to be funny while his brother is missing, something has gone wrong with the writing priorities. Then there are Kara and Lauren. Both have personal conflicts with Pip. Kara is angry because Pip's investigation in Season 1 got her father sent to prison. Lauren is frustrated because Pip does not like her new boyfriend. These are perfectly valid young adult storylines. The problem is that neither character has any real personality beyond their conflict with Pip. They exist to create friction. And when characters only exist to create friction, audiences stop caring about them as people. The show also carries over one genuinely strange habit from Season 1, which is using soundtrack music as a blunt instrument to tell you how to feel. There is a moment when Max Hastings walks on screen and a song called Predator starts playing. Literally titled Predator, in case you forgot that he is the bad guy. This kind of thing works occasionally, and credit where it is due. His slow, smiling stare at Pip in that scene is actually unsettling. But when you rely on the soundtrack to do character work that the writing should be doing, it is a sign that something is underdeveloped. Let us talk about Ravi for a second because he is one of the more interesting supporting elements of the season. Ravi is Pip's boyfriend now, upgraded from investigative partner. Zain Iqbal plays him with genuine warmth, and there is something refreshing about a male character in this genre whose entire function is to be steady, supportive, and present. He is not jealous. He is not competitive. He does not undercut Pip's abilities. He just shows up. That is a good model to put on screen, especially for a show with a young audience. But here is the problem. Pip does some things this season that are not great. She makes choices that affect Ravi and affect their relationship, and Ravi's response to those moments is mostly fine. He brushes things off. He stays supportive. Which sounds sweet, and it is, but it also means the show is not wringing any drama out of a relationship that has real dramatic potential. When someone keeps letting things slide, the tension that should build between two characters just evaporates, and the audience loses something. Here is something worth noting. As of right now, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder Season 2 sits at 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. Season 1 had an 83% score, so on paper the critical reception is nearly identical. But if you dig into the actual reviews rather than just the score, you find something more complicated. Some critics called this season tighter and better paced than Season 1. Others said the central mystery never generates the stakes that the first season built. Both groups can be right simultaneously because they are responding to different things. The critics who liked it more tend to focus on the performances and the Max storyline. The critics who had reservations tend to focus on the Jamie investigation and the underdeveloped supporting cast. What is interesting is that viewer response on social media has been broadly positive. The book talk community in particular is genuinely invested. And this show has that rare quality where the audience wants to keep watching regardless of what the critics say, which is probably the most important metric in modern television. One of the more quietly significant things this season does is let Pip be wrong. Season 1 Pip is fundamentally a protagonist who is right about everything. She trusts her instincts, she follows the evidence, and the story validates her at every turn. That is satisfying, but it does not leave much room for the character to grow. Season 2 Pip is different. She starts making choices driven by frustration and emotion rather than logic. She acts in ways that could compromise the investigation. She crosses lines because watching a predator walk free in slow motion while everyone talks about proper legal procedures is genuinely maddening. And the show asks you to hold two things at once, understanding why Pip does what she does and recognizing that it still is not right. That is good storytelling. The moral complexity is real, and Myers carries it without the character ever becoming someone you stop rooting for. A protagonist who goes too far but never loses the audience's fundamental empathy is a difficult balance. This season mostly gets it right. The season does not wrap everything up neatly. There are loose threads, deliberate ones, and for viewers who got invested, they will absolutely want to pull those threads. There is a third book in Holly Jackson's series. It is called As Good as Dead, and if you have read it, you already know it goes to considerably darker territory than either of the first two books. We are not going to spoil it here, but the general direction the story takes is a significant tonal shift. Whether a third season gets made depends on how well this one performs on Netflix. Early signs suggest it will do well enough. The fanbase is there, the show is generating conversation, and Netflix rarely walks away from a property that has an active audience and more source material to adapt. If Season 3 does happen, the challenge will be adapting a book that is structurally quite different from its predecessors. It would also need to solve the supporting cast problem because you cannot coast on lead performances alone for 3 seasons. Here is the honest answer. If you watched Season 1 and enjoyed it, yes, watch it. The Emma Myers performance alone is worth the 6-episode runtime. The Max Hastings storyline is compelling, uncomfortable, and real in ways that most shows in this genre do not attempt, and the loose threads at the end will make you want more. If you are coming in cold, start with Season 1. There is enough connective tissue that jumping into Season 2 without context would blunt the emotional impact of several key moments. If you have read the books, you will probably find this a genuinely strong adaptation, maybe stronger in some areas than the source material. If you are looking for the same tight, escalating mystery energy from Season 1, you may feel the gap. The Jamie Reynolds storyline never quite builds to the same pitch. The stakes are lower. The central mystery is less gripping, but the show around that mystery is often really good. And that is kind of the honest paradox of this season. The show is stronger than its plot. The performances outrun the writing in places. The supporting characters are underdeveloped. But the core of it, Pip, her growing moral complexity, and a world that keeps showing her that justice does not always win, is worth spending time with. Alright, that is the full breakdown. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder Season 2, 6 episodes, all on Netflix right now. A slightly uneven but genuinely worthwhile follow-up that does more right than wrong, even if it does not quite hit the heights of the first season. If you watched it already, drop your thoughts below. Do you think the Jamie storyline worked? Were you more invested in Max's trial? And for the book readers, where does this land for you compared to Good Girl, Bad Blood? I read everything in the comments, so actually write something if you have thoughts. And if you want more breakdowns like this, honest, no-hype analysis of the shows people are actually talking about, hit subscribe. New video coming soon. See you there.